What's going on, Giants fans? This is the postgame report, and I'm going to talk about the New York Giants, their first three games. It's been a while since I recorded a podcast regarding the New York Giants, and they're currently at 1-2. They were embarrassed by the Minnesota Vikings in Week 1, and then against the Washington Commanders, they held them to nothing but field goals defensively. But the defense couldn't hold the Commanders' offense when they needed to, and the Commanders chewed up the clock, and for miraculously couldn't score a touchdown. But the Giants still lost. And we saw the rise of Malik Neighbors. He had a big drop at the end of the game. Well, towards the end of the game. That could have extended a New York Giants drive. It was a fourth down play. He drops the pass in the sidelines. And then a week later, against the Browns, which has a top 5 defense, Malik Neighbors comes out and he performs flawlessly. He dominated that secondary and he made life easy for Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones actually involved other receivers. He did make 2 really bad passes that could have been catastrophic. The New York Giants actually beat the Cleveland Browns in their stadium, and the defense looked very good. Now, the Browns on offense, their offensive line, they had a lot of injuries. They have Watson at quarterback. I don't know what the hell happened to him. They don't have Chubb at running back. So, defensively, the New York Giants were doing exactly what I thought they would do against the Commanders in Week 2, but I don't know. They weren't blitzing. They weren't sending stunts. So, this week against last weekend against the Cleveland Browns, they did all that, and I guess surprised the coaching staff of the Browns as well as its fans, the New York Giants fans, because me personally, I was expecting them to just put forward a rush to quarterback and drop everybody else back. No, they were pretty aggressive. Now, the Browns did come back. They made it a game. And, of course, in typical New York Giants fashion, the fans watching this game had to sweat it out. We had to see their offense, which was pretty electrifying in the first half, scoring 21 points. We had to see them fall asleep and, look pedestrian. And all of a sudden, the roles were reversed where the Cleveland Browns on offense were alive and making plays. Now, part of that had to do with poor tackling in key situations by the New York Giants. So there's a lot to clean up because they are facing tomorrow, on Thursday, they're facing the Dallas Cowboys. And we haven't defeated the Dallas Cowboys in a long time. The Giants have come close, but just like Vin Diesel said, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile or something like that anyway. So, the New York Giants coming into Week 4 against the Dallas Cowboys at home, there's actually a positive feeling amongst a lot of us Giants fans as to whether this New York Giants team can defeat the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow. It's not can they hang with Dallas. It's if we can. Now it's more of can we beat them? Or shall I say we are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow? That's what a lot of us Giants fans feel. And it's a good feeling, by the way. because for many years, the New York Giants haven't given us a lot to be happy about. So we have an offensive line that has been playing, I'm not going to say lights out, but they've been playing above average. They have given Daniel Jones time in the pocket. Daniel Jones is also helping them by escaping the pass rush. For example, Andrew Jones was giving up pressures against Myles Garrett. But Myles Garrett is a freaking future Hall of Famer. So that's to be expected. But what was helpful for Andrew Thomas was that Daniel Jones was able to escape the rush. And not only escape, but he was looking down the field. He was looking to make plays with his arms. Arm. Not both arms. So it all starts in the trenches. We all know that. If you're a knowledgeable New York Giants fan, especially someone who grew up watching them in the 80s, you understand that the New York Giants, when they were successful, they controlled the trenches. Now, this is nothing new. Every team that has been successful, that has been a winner, either had winning seasons or won the championship, they controlled the trenches. You controlled the line of scrimmage on offense and defense, and you can dictate what your opponent is going to do. The New York Giants aren't there yet, but for the offensive line, they can give Daniel Jones a little extra time to find Malik Neighbors or Robinson or Slayton or even Jalen Hyatt. He's a kid that they put out there to run deep, to threaten the defensive backfield, to give the defensive coordinator something to think about when he's on the field. But if you give Daniel Jones a little extra time, Jalen Hyatt can get open, and he can make a huge play. That's going to come for him. Jalen Hyatt, I feel that Dable is doing what I would do, right, if I were playing Madden football, because I'm no head coach. But the threat of Jalen Hyatt, you have to know that one of these days, they're going to put Jalen Hyatt, and instead of running straight towards the freaking goal line as fast as he can, they're going to change up that route, and the defense is not going to be prepared for it. I believe they are setting up Jalen Hyatt to have a huge play, and it would be really freaking nice if it happens against the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow. So I am very satisfied. Actually, I'm really happy to see how the offensive line is doing. They're not dominant in the running game, but they don't need to be. Singletary is very shifty, and he can create plays with his shiftiness. He needs to obviously cut down on the damn fumbles. So, you have Tracy as a rookie at running back. He's starting to get his feet under him. He played a little more against the Cleveland Browns, against a really tough team once again, a tough defense. And he held his own. And he actually showed that he's a legitimate threat catching the ball. So, offensively, the Giants seem to be heading towards the right direction. Defensively, I still don't know what we're going to get from the New York Giants on defense, because the Vikings were able to run on them. The Commanders were able to run on them. Cleveland wasn't able to, but that's because the defense was blitzing more, and I guess they didn't feel that the receivers were a threat. Cooper, he's a talented wide receiver. He's a little older, but he is still going to outsmart most cornerbacks. And you have a young cornerback like Banks, who had good coverage on him when he did score. He didn't turn his head around. So Amari Cooper, he's a very shifty route runner, very strong, great hands, and he doesn't necessarily have to be wide open to get a reception. In week 1, they had to go against Justin Jefferson, another future Hall of Famer. And in week 2, you had the dangerous McLaurin. So they had the New York Giants secondary, that is, they had to face legitimate weapons and weapons that could take it the distance. Whereas Amari Cooper, he's not going to take it the distance, but he's going to catch the damn ball whether a cornerback is on him or not. Now, against the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow night, it's a different story because CeeDee Lamb, he could do both. He could beat you physically, he can outmuscle you for the ball, or he could take it a distance. So the New York Giants, are they going to revert back to the way they were playing against the Commanders, playing zone and giving receivers too much space? Or did the secondary get better and gain more confidence, especially from the coaching staff? And did that give Bowen enough confidence to throw more blitzes at the Browns because he feels that his secondary is going to do what they have to do? Dallas is going to score points on most teams in the NFL. That line, they aren't as dominant, the offensive line, but they still have some really good talent in that offensive line. Of course, it begins with Zach Martin, future Hall of Famer. And then you have Smith, who was an All-Pro last season. And Steele at right tackle. He's a solid right tackle. And then they have a rookie center, Beebe, who's playing really good. And then, of course, they have a rookie left tackle, Guyton, I believe. He's had a few issues, but he's held up for the most part. Now, Dallas has lost 2 games. But with Dak Prescott as their quarterback, their offense is still dangerous. Defensively is where they're having the issue. Very similar to the Giants' defense. They're very similar, as a matter of fact, because if you look at the roster, the New York Giants have Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. 3 pass rushers that should, every week, one of them should at least have a sack and a half. But it hasn't been that way. And then the secondary is very young for the New York Giants. You have Bobby Okereke, who is a Pro Bowler, in my opinion. He should have been in the Pro Bowl last season. And then McFadden, who just, he's not the flashiest player, but he is always there. He really reminds me of Gary Reasons. Just a guy who's going to give an all-out effort. He misses way too much tackles, but he disrupts the running play. So you would think that on paper, the Giants would be a legitimate pass rushing force, but they have not been. Now, the last 2 games against the Commanders and the Browns, the Giants racked up a lot of pressures. So they're up there when it comes to pressures. But they played Jaden Daniels, a rookie, 2 weeks ago. And then Deshaun Watson, who just took a historical dive. The kid was a freaking steal at one point. He was like one of the best quarterbacks, best young quarterbacks in the league, and then all of a sudden just dropped off the face of the earth as far as his talent. But once again, the New York Giants are facing Dak Prescott with a dangerous CD Lamb and the tight ends, and I forgot the other receiver's name, an established receiver. I forgot his name. But he hurt the Giants last season too. Now back to the Cowboys defense. The reason why I say they're very similar to the New York Giants is because on paper, you have Parsons, one of the best defensive players in the league. You have Lawrence II, an established pass rusher. And then you have some draft picks in the inside. But they have been given up. They have been torched by the run. They have been embarrassed by the running game. Teams are just running. Just like last season, it began last season where teams exposed that defense and just ran right up the middle. The same is happening all over again with that Dallas defense. They have talent in the backfield, but if you don't have to pass, you don't pass. If you can run for chunks at a time, why the hell pass? So we'll see what Dallas is going to do against the Giants. Do they try and force Daniel Jones to be the reason why they win this game? Malik Neighbors is a legitimate weapon. He is up there in catches and yards. He is dangerous. Robinson is sneaky and inside the hash marks at short yardage, and he can make plays after the catch. So there are some weapons for this New York Giants offense. Daniel Jones has shown that he has been able to progress as a quarterback. His confidence is coming back. His legs, his running, it all looks better. He does have to work on his accuracy, and he needs to make sure that he freaking makes up for the poor play in week 1 against the Vikings when they were celebrating the 100th year anniversary of the New York Giants. You had all of these superstars from the past celebrating this historic event. Opening day in New York, the Giants got their ass whooped against the Minnesota Vikings. Daniel Jones didn't play well. Neither did the defense. So the defense and Daniel Jones, they have a lot to prove. They need some making up to do. And it would be great if they can begin by whipping the Dallas Cowboys' ass physically, dominating in the running game, stopping the running game for Dallas, pressuring Dak Prescott, because you can rattle him, but it's not going to be easy because Dak Prescott is a good quarterback. But they don't have Tyron Smith there anymore, so Kayvon going up against a rookie and Brian Burns going up against Steele. I would favor the Giants in that matchup. Now Dexter Lawrence going up against Zach Martin. Zach Martin has been able to handle Dexter Lawrence. So the smart thing would be to put Dexter Lawrence in front of Smith, who is, a beast in his own right, or in front of BB. Come up with a scheme where you leave him one-on-one with the rookie center, and that would be a huge mismatch. Excuse me. So let's see what happens. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited to see this New York Giants play. This New York Giants team play against the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow night. I usually hate when the New York Giants are in prime time especially against the Cowboys. But I have this feeling, a positive feeling, that things are going to work out tomorrow night. And it's going to favor the New York Giants. So let's see. Now, I was going to predict like I had plans, right? You know, for some of you that don't know, I have a brain injury. It affects me in a multitude of ways. So I get brain fatigue depending on what I'm doing. I have sensitivity to hearing, you know, to sound, sensitivity to light. And when there's information overload, I get mentally fatigued and I got to sleep. It's been 5 years since my injury, and it hasn't gotten easier. So I will have ideas for my podcast, but I mentally cannot find a way to sit down and record. So today was, 4 weeks later, but here I am. I was going to do, before the start of the season, I was going to predict the record for the New York Giants. I had plans for that. I had a plan to break down the team every week and then adjust my predictions on the performances from the week prior. I'm not going to do that because I don't know if I'm able to record every week. So I'll give my predictions like I did last season. I'm going to predict the record for the New York Giants, who's going to have the most rushing yards, who's going to have the most receiving, blah, blah, blah. So, the New York Giants, their record. I'm going to predict 9 wins for the New York Giants this season. And as far as receiving yards, who's going to have the most? That's pretty easy. Malik Neighbors. Who's going to have the most touchdowns? Malik Neighbors. Rushing yards, obviously Singletary. On defense, who's going to have the most sacks? Based on the performance of Thibodeau, Lawrence, and Burns, and Ojulari, because he had a really good game against the Browns, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Azeez Ojulari is going to lead the New York Giants in sacks. And I'm going to say that he's going to be the leader in sacks with 9.5. Now, you might be thinking, man, that's kind of low, but Thibodeau, Burns, and Lawrence will have similar numbers. I don't think any of them are going to go double digit, but all 4 of them are going to be really close. And you have Chapman. He's going to have about 5 to 6 sacks himself. He already has 1. So even though their leading sack in total is going to be under the double digits, less than 10, but as a team, they're going to improve from last season. Tackles. Of course, Bobby Okereke. Interceptions, that's a tough one. But the leader in interceptions for the New York Giants for the 2024 season is going to be Jason Pinnock. I'm hoping with 5. That's a lot. But I'm hoping that he has at least 5 interceptions. That means something's going right. Based on what I said about the sacks, that means quarterbacks are going to have to rush their passes, and when you do that, you make mistakes. So, special teams-wise, it's been a mess so far for the place kicker. We haven't found one. Gano is hurt again. So, luckily, our punter has been performing really well. But when it comes to punt return and kickoff return, we haven't been good. We haven't been good at all. So, I was I was thinking of predicting who was going to be our leading punt returner, kickoff returner. Right now, who the hell's capable of doing that, right? Gunner is injured. He would have been doing that. And the people currently trying to return kicks and punts haven't been that successful. So once again, I predict the New York Giants are going to win 9 games. And who knows? Maybe they can sneak back into the playoffs. So we'll see. You know, the Giants don't make things easy. Even when they were winning Super Bowls, they really don't dominate like that anymore. I believe 2008 was the last season that they truly were one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best. And then all things went to hell when Burr shot himself. So we don't have that team anymore. We never had that team ever since. It's always been a struggle. And hey, that's what New York is all about, right? Things come at us, we handle it, take care of business, and we succeed. I'm hoping the Giants, well, not hoping. I predict that the Giants are going to be in an upswing in the next few years. Malik Neighbors is a step in the right direction. The offensive line is playing well. Maybe Evan Neal can see some time this year and he can progress. That would be freaking great. And I'm not saying Daniel Jones is the future quarterback, but hey, he's our quarterback right now, and I want to see him perform well. And if anybody has a problem with that, well, then you should go outside and go inhale some air and relax. It's not that bad of a, things aren't that bad where you got to hate your damn quarterback, hate the team, hate your fellow fans for wanting to support their favorite team. It's freaking crazy. But anyway, I'm going to cut that because, well, I'm going to cut it out now, not cut that audio, because then I'm going to get into the whole, division between Giants fans. Winning will cause more unity. So let's see if it starts. Well, we beat the Cleveland Browns. Let's see if that momentum continues by defeating the Dallas Cowboys. They do that. Giants fans are going to be a little happier. I mean, there'll be people who are still going to find excuses to hate their team, their favorite team, or hate Daniel Jones. But you know what? They can do what they feel they have to do. I'm going to enjoy a victory against Dallas Cowboys. So let's see. I'll try to be on next week. Until then, you guys enjoy the game tomorrow night. Let's go Big Blue. Later.